first of all, obviously, thank you very much for doing this. I had a chance to see the lady in Toronto, where I guess that was the first time it had shown, or
yes, it was still work in progress at that time.
Okay.
And now we have the real version.
Great,
it's
great.
shorter than it was in Toronto.
Okay. What I hope I can do before I ask you specifically about that is to go back to we'll do the Citizen Kane thing and just sort of try to figure you out. So I want to ask you, first of all, I think a lot of people are maybe surprised when they learn that you were born in Malaysia, not Hong Kong or certain places where you've worked more often. So how did it wind up that that's where you were born and that you then moved elsewhere?
Well, but I think it's like many people now, they're born somewhere and they end up studying somewhere else and working in another country. But I guess, where you were born will always be your home in a sense. I was born in Ipoh, Malaysia. My parents still live there. Then I was given an opportunity to do a commercial in Hong Kong. Actually, my first star that I worked with was Jackie Chan. And then at that time, the company who was doing this commercial had just started a film company called DNB, and they offered me a job. They offered me a contract. I just graduated, from England with a BA in dance and drama, and I thought, why not? It's not often you get a contract offered to you.
Yeah.
So I took that contract back, went to see my dad, and I was just not even 22 at that time. And I said to my dad, what do you think? He said, well, this looks like a slave contract. Whatever they want, you'd have to just do for 2 years. And but it could be interesting. And so I went.
Now, just jumping backwards for a second, I think that you were, from what I've read, you were a very talented dancer, I guess specifically ballet, but sort of injuries led you to look at other things, is that right?
Yes, it was very unfortunate. That was my dream. I always wanted to be in the world of ballet, whether it was on stage, as I wanted to start my own school. I would have done that in Ipoh. Then when I was studying in England, I had a very bad back, and I had to do a manipulation of the spine. And I remember I was just about 16 and a half, 17 years old when the specialist turned around to me and said, have you ever considered or thought about something else you would like to do? And as a 16-year-old kid, you go, no. And he says, maybe this would be a good time to think about it. And that saying, you see your dream shatter in front of your eyes? It was like that. Literally, I saw it go... But I was very fortunate because where I was in school, the principal, Betty Hammond, was very kind, and she took me under her wing, and she basically advised me, and she said, dancing ballet is not just about dancing and performance. You can go into choreography. There's so much more of the world that you can explore. So I went on to do a degree in dance and drama. So I was still very much part of that world. I just couldn't dance like 5-6 hours a day. I still did, maybe 3-4 hours a week, which was a great, a vast difference. But then I learned about other things. I learned jazz and contemporary. I learned creative art. So I guess it taught me other things as a performing artist.
Sure. I also read that at one point, like a lot of mothers, your mother did something to surprise you.
Oh my God! I knew it would come and get me.
Absolutely. Now maybe what happened there?
Yes. So as I was graduating, and we always go home for summer holidays, and then I found it very strange that summer holidays, my mom was always saying, you need to do something more on stage and be meeting with people and learn how to do this. And I was going, what is going on with my mom? So I discovered that she had entered me for Miss Malaysia. She had forged my signature, actually. Maybe now I'll be disqualified.
Oh, jeez.
And she wasn't prepared to tell me until we all, as semi-finalists, there were 100 girls who were chosen from around Malaysia who had to go and meet the judges before they could move on to the next level. So I guess my mom couldn't keep the secret anymore. She had to tell me, and I think I probably wanted to run away from home. At that time, I was so resistant. I was like, no way I would do that. Because I have stage fright. If I had to speak on stage, I was okay. Yeah. When I danced, I won't think about it. So I was very, very, very reluctant. But, you know, it was the constant na 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 na. In the end, I did it just to get her off my back.
And
I won.
Wow. And so then it was on to Miss World, right?
Yes, I was at Miss World. I was at, you know, for Malaysia, the good thing is you really become the ambassador of your country. It wasn't a step into the movie business, because at that time, you know, we did not have a very big movie industry, nor a very strong TV industry, nor did I have that inkling, really, to do that. But what I did learn was a lot about my own country. I traveled and I represented my country, and I thought that was really, really a good experience on the whole.
So you get back, and was it right away that commercial came about, or was that how did that?
A few months later. After I got back, you know, I was still doing, and I was coming to the end of my term as Miss Malaysia, and I was considering going back to England to do my masters in dance, because I love England, and or starting my ballet school with a girlfriend in Ipoh. And that was the opportunity. That was when the opportunity came up. I got a call from my girlfriend, and she said, "Come to Hong Kong. Come to Hong Kong." You know, why am I going to Hong Kong? She said, "You know, someone really, really wants you to do this commercial for them." So I thought, you know, sounds like fun. So she said, "I'll wait for you. You know, get your passport and come." So that was what I did. I got my passport, hopped on the plane, and there I was. And a day later, we went on to do the commercial, and a day later, I got the new contract, you know, offering me a job, and I think within 2 weeks, I was back in Hong Kong.
Now, was it, at that point, I guess that was really your first steps into acting, was it intimidating? Yes. Was it something that, because a lot of people, you know, spend years training to be an actor the way that you did to be a dancer. Here you were kind of thrust right into it. How did you feel?
Well, the good news is, in Hong Kong at that time, there was no structure of scripts, you know. A lot of the directors, they didn't really go to film school, you know. It was really baptism by fire. They picked you up, they threw you in and go, "Come on, you can do it." And the first movie I did was with Sammo Hung. It was an action film, but you know, all the women did the dutiful roles as the damsels in distress, and it was exciting. So you were so caught up with the thing, there was no time to think. You know, first of all, I was really scared because I didn't read Chinese. Here I was doing a movie, I had no clear understanding of the language. But, you know, you felt that everybody was in a rush to do things, you know, and it was no time to think. Don't even think about it, just do it. So I guess in that sense, it helped. And everybody seemed to be doing it. So, you know, you just get into the flow of things.
Even today and in recent years, as you've moved more towards straight drama, not abandoning action, but I think you will always be very closely associated with action. And so I want to ask how, you know, as you said, you start out as the damsel in distress. How did action first sort of enter the picture? And as someone who had not necessarily trained in martial arts or done other things like that, how is it that you were so ready to do it, you know?
Well, when I was watching in the first movie that I was in, it was an action film, you know, so I could see all these guys doing the thing. And at the end of the day, it's very simple. It's all about choreography, and this is the world that I came from. Because with dance, with ballet or jazz or contemporary, at the end of the day, it's the choreographer who does all the movements, you know, and get the people to move in as a group or a team, and how you interact. It's all about rhythm. It's all about the transference of energy. So I was blessed that one of the producers turned around and said, you know, it's very interesting. We bring Michelle in from a different country. She has a dance background. She has all this, but you still put her in the same box as all the other Hong Kong girls. That's Why would you do that? Let's take a chance, you know, let's do something different with her. And in Hong Kong at that time, action movies and comedies were the big box office blockbusters. You know, they didn't really need big scripts. All they had was like a few, you know, big action, small action, medium action, you know, a story that sort of like got pieced together and interesting characters. So when I was given the opportunity, I said, yes, I would love to do some action because I think I can manage it. So it was easy for them as well. I mean, there was no risk, right? I was a newcomer. If it didn't work out, I could go back to doing the same roles as everybody else was doing. But if it worked out, could be a new jackpot.
Yeah.
So I started training I was very fortunate. I went to this gym who was frequented by all the stunt boys because that was where you can learn. Because these are the people that really knows the tricks, the ropes. Because it's not about the formal martial arts. Yes, you have to do the basic things, which is the front kicks, the side kicks, you know, learning how to throw the punches, the very basic things that you would learn. But you didn't need to go through like all the black belts to get to that point because in every movie that you do, in every single movement, it's different. It's not going to be the same choreography. But it's like dance. If you have the basics, it's like knowing your ABCs, then you can piece it all together. You know, it's just putting the things in different order. So I think the boys it was very much a man's world at that time. The boys were fascinated by this slip of a girl who thinks that she can try to enter their world. So because I was flexible, because I was coordinated, because I'm actually very athletic. Since as a young child I did, you know, apart from dance, I was also a runner, a diver, you know, high jump, the whole works. So I understood about physical activities. And very soon, I mean, they would gather around me and they wanted to show me tricks because I could imitate them. You know, I could look like them, and, you know, because at the end of the day, it really was, because you're doing it for the camera, that there are certain looks, you know, you can't hit someone like this. I mean, it just wouldn't work. The way you throw your punch, where the energy is coming from, is just watching them and then, you know, questioning them and then training with them. So I would be at the gym from like 6:30 in the morning, you know, go for runs with them, and then after that just do the sandbag and just, you know, and so after that they got used to me, and then they found it fun because, you know, I could do weird things, you know, I could wrap my legs around my head and then they're like, whoa!
That's great.
So that was a good rapport going on there.
And it became fun, I guess.
Yeah, it has to be fun, you know, when it becomes fun, then, you know, then you get passionate about it. But then you also have a problem because it was so much fun, and at the end of the day you really think you're invincible. Because there I was, I could go into an action film, take down 5 guys, jump out the building, you know, and hit the floor running. You know, and then you think, what else can't I do?
Right. And you did experience some injuries, right?
At the beginning I didn't, you know, so my confidence grew and grew. I mean, when you get bruises, I would go back home at night. When you sit in the bath to relax, you go, wow, you know, you'd be like mega. I mean, I'm not talking about little. It looks like someone has thrown you down a flight of stairs a few times, picked you up and threw you down again, because there was contact. It wasn't just like, you know, I touch you. It was like boom, boom, boom the whole time. So the thing was, it's learning how to take the blows and how to give the blows at the same time.
And there was one, unfortunately, again with your back. Was that also?
Oh, yeah. The first few movies, you know, cuts, bruises, yes. And it was only until we were doing the story of Akam, of the stunt woman. Actually, really, that was my tribute to the stunt people, because they are the unsung heroes. Nobody sees their faces, because if they saw their faces, they would be fired, you know. And I think everybody knows at that time in Hong Kong, the stunt, they were the top. I mean, they were the masters of the universe. The kind of stunts they did it without special effects. They did it for real. and some of the stunts were getting more and more risky. And I think at some point I was thinking, this is just too much, you know, this is not right, because no one should go and do a stunt where you know for sure there is a risk, a very, very, very high risk of injury, because, you know, it's just not, it shouldn't be done like that. And so I got together with Anne Hui. She's a dramatic, very renowned drama director, and I felt that she would be able to bring the drama to it, you know, and join it with Sammo Hong, who is the stunt coordinator, and so it really was about a stunt woman who wanted to leave this world because she was getting injured so bad, and, you know, and at the end of the day, because her love life didn't work out or what she tried to do, she still had to go back into this world. And it was her coming back again the second time. And, you know, you lose your nerve. A lot of the times doing a stunt is just being sheer, you know, just not thinking about it and doing it. And in Hong Kong at that time, when a director says, you know, I will never forget when that stunt person was jumping off the roof, and they don't normally just jump and land on the ground. They jump, they hit the balcony across, then they bounce off the wall, and then, you know, hit through the canopy, and then they will fall. And after he had done that, the director would go, oh, that doesn't look painful at all. And you're thinking, that guy just fell off the 3rd floor. What do you mean it doesn't look painful? What he meant was that it wasn't fast enough, that you didn't feel the boom, boom, ta, tang. Then, now that was what they wanted. But that would cause injury. I mean, even if it wasn't a serious one, it would, the risk is much higher. So there we were thinking, we wanted to show this world how it was very, very real. And I was doing this stunt where I was jumping off a highway, and I would land on a moving truck. So in this scene, it was like Sammo was my co-star, and, you know, he would say, you cannot hesitate when you take the jump, because I was there as the stunt woman thinking, I don't know whether I can do this. So, you know, his concept is, it's like falling off a horse. You have to get back on, and you just have to go. So he comes and he pushes me off. So once, and in the irony was, in the big sequence where I dive off onto the thing, everything went perfectly well, and it was when it was the close-up, and the fall was maybe about 10-12 feet, and I would the normal thing, we land onto the cardboard boxes and mattresses that are there. So it was the close-up of Sammo giving me a nudge, and I would fall onto the mattresses. So, you know, sometimes maybe it was we were filming so early in the morning, maybe you were focused on the reaction rather than the tumble, because it's a tumble that we do so often. And when he pushed me, instead of landing flat, I tipped over too much, and I nosedived straight into the boxes. I got caught between the mattresses, and I could hear, you know, when your head gets stuck, my legs were coming, and there was no way to stop it because of the force. And I heard my back at this point just go like this. My legs touched the top of my head. Oh my God. And when I flipped around, I couldn't move. You know, you feel like your whole body was just on fire. And I think at that point I knew how serious it was, because Sammo started to speak to me in English. He was, okay, Chukeng, don't worry. No problem, no problem. Then I realized, oh my God. And I looked up and I saw Anne Hui, my director. She was just paralyzed, looking at me like this, and tears was just streaming down her face. And you know, fortunately for me, I think because I was very flexible, because I was very fit, I didn't break my back. I cracked my ribs. I completely tore the muscles in my back. And I remember on the way to, the one thing you must always do if anything ever happens to you is to stay calm. Because when you panic, you just make the situation worse. So all the way in, they quickly, you know, took up the mattress that I was in, and every slight movement was just sheer pain. Your nerves were just completely shattered. And I picked up the phone and I called my doctor and said, okay, this is what happened. And you know, we had to go to the closest hospital. And you know, you always have the problem of, this doctor can't get you there. I said, I don't care, you have to come now. And so there I am, you know, they're waiting for the MRI, all those kind of things. The good thing was I knew I hadn't severed anything because I could move my toes and all that. I just couldn't move. And then next thing was the news came on that I had suffered a severe injury. And of course I called my parents right away because they can't do anything for me. And it's just painful to put them through anything like that. So I called my mom and said, hey, how are you guys? You know, I'm okay. And I can't really talk because everything was in pain. And I said, oh, by the way, if you see anything on the news, it's a publicity stunt, okay? I'm coming home next week, okay? So that was my first major injury.
Jeez. Well, the last thing I hope we can do before I specifically focus on the lady is just ask you if you can share a couple of memories about a few of the roles that were that sort of have helped you sort of rise to people's consciousness around the world outside of Asian cinema. And so the first one I think would have to be Tomorrow Never Dies. And I mean, in a way, that was the first time that I can remember where the Bond girl was just as mentally and physically capable as Bond himself.
Yes.
So how did that come about, and how did that change things for you?
I think really it's, you know how it is, it's timing. It's also, you know, the Bond movies is such a legacy that's been going on for so many years, and they know that how to change when Bond has to, you know, come to the 21st century, how he has to, you know, not just be the misogynist, you know, guy that he is, because they want the women to be watching the film as well. And, you know, us women don't want to see just bimbos. Come on, give us more credit, and we want to be part of the fun and adventure as well. So I was very fortunate, I guess at that time, with Roger Spottiswoode, with the producers, you know, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson, and also Jeff Kleeman. They all collectively decided, yes, we want to strong, not the usual, normally it's the femme fatale, the girl from Russia or the Eastern European, you know. And I remember taking a meeting the first time here in Los Angeles with Jeff Kleeman, and he says, you know, maybe you could be a Bond girl. And I threw a pillow at him. I said, I'm not doing that, you know. And he says, okay, I know what kind of Bond girl you're going to be. But the writers, Roger and Barbara, they really wanted someone that, like you say, you know, let's give someone on par. Let's give, you know, James Bond a new look. And I was very fortunate. So I was cast for that role. The
next one that I think people know Bond movies are going to do well commercially, yes. But there was not that certainty about Crouching Tiger,
Hidden Dragon.
And could you, first of all, again, how did that come about? And then could you ever have imagined that it would have had that kind of critical, commercial, awards success that it did? It was unbelievable.
Oh, I remember that so clearly, because think about it, after the Bond movie, I didn't do anything until Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And you can imagine, coming off a Bond movie, you would have a lot of things that could happen. But I've always been very, very, I guess, strict with myself. It's like, when you do a role, it has to be something that will enrich you, either as a person, make it a good learning experience, that where you would, you know, get something out of it as a person, because it takes time away from your family, your life, and it has to be precious to you at the end of the day. So I remember when I was doing the publicity tour for Tomorrow Never Dies, I met with Ang, but that was not the first time I had met with him. We did a retrospective of some of my Asian films in New York, and he very kindly came with his wife Jane, you know, and his sons. And I think at that point, Ang was already thinking, because Ang is one of those directors that he has to be so engaged and involved, and you know, it has to go with him in time. He just doesn't go, oh, I'll do this film. It has to speak to him, and he has to be able to, you know, have that thing. So then I think he was sizing me up the first time when we met. I don't know. Then after that, he came to Los Angeles and he met with me, and he said, you know, you're a big star now. And I'm thinking, who on earth is he talking about? You know, I don't know whether you will still have time to work with me. And I'm going, my God, he's a very, very humble man. You know, he doesn't think that, you know, he's God's gift to the movie world, because in my mind, I've never seen a director that's so versatile. Not just with his style of filmmaking, but going across the cultures, you know, from the very eat, drink, man, woman, that's very Chinese but still mixed with the Western culture, and then Sense and Sensibility that's so English, then to Ice Storm, which is so middle American, and you're thinking, who is this man, you know? So when he said to me, I would like to do Sense and Sensibility with martial arts, and he started to talk about this very poetic, it was painting this like Chinese painting from in front of my eyes. I could see this going, and I said, okay, all right, I'm sold. Okay, whenever you're ready, I'm there. So I waited for him to do Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Nobody thought it would be the way what happened, because at that time, all of us, everyone, it was chipped in to do this. Everyone from, Ang himself, Chow, myself, everyone, because, no one was willing to invest so highly in a martial arts film. Right? Because, we do so many martial arts films in Hong Kong, and they would not have cost so much.
Right.
But, Ang was dead set, and he knew that this was his dream. This was a dream of his, that need a childhood dream. Because the martial arts culture, the world, very much is very Asian, and he had never done one before. And in his mind, these legendary folks, these warriors of men and women of that time that talked about, loyalty and honor and revenge was a very, very exotic world that he wanted to explore. So we traveled on this incredible journey together. I don't think anybody expected it to have done what it did, but we're all very happy, because I think the main thing was it introduced that very Chinese culture, that core of what we grow up with, to the Western world.
So many people.
Yeah, because I think if it was done the way it's normally done, where you come in and it's a huge action sequence, the people flying in the air, hundreds dying, and there's one hero standing at the end, I think the Western world would have gone, oh, wow, what was that?
Right,
And would not have been interested, because it would have been too bizarre.
And then the last one before just the mystery of it all is, to me, that a movie like that, nobody had any advanced knowledge of the subject matter, and it became such a hit. Then Memoirs of a Geisha is one that everybody knew about, and even though it was excellent, it was not as much of a triumphant success in a way, you could say. So is there any rhyme or reason to that? I think it was still, you can't find a reason. I can't. I think you guys were excellent, and it was as well done as it could be, but some things, it's hard to know why things click.
Rob Marshall was just a dream to work with. I mean, I was in love with that book, and to be able to play Mameha, and be in that world, that culture, was just a great experience for all of us. And that's exactly it. That's how movies are. If we knew the formula, everybody would have a great hit, The interesting thing is everybody puts their heart and soul into it. Nobody starts making a film thinking that it's not going to be a success. I mean, everybody goes in with the right intentions, but the audience is fickle. The times change, and then, it's timing. There are so many reasons or no reason at all. And sometimes, it's even like when I watch The Lady, the movie that we have now, there will be different moments, because you've gone in with a different mood, that it affects you. So I guess, in a sense, that's the magic of the cinemas, right? There is no guarantee formula. I mean, I wish we all knew that, but I guess that's the challenge. Yeah. That's why we keep making different kind of films, and because we keep thinking there will be someone out there who will appreciate this for what it is.
The ironic thing about the lady to me is that here you are with you, who have been throughout your career so associated with action, and Luc Besson, who in his own way has really been, and yet you're playing this character who couldn't be more still and calm and internal instead of sort of physically.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if you were aware of that as you considered the character and what appealed to you about it, and just was that part of the thought process even?
When I read, I think it was one day I read a little article that talked about Dorsu, And I remember calling my agent and saying, you go out there and you find this story, because, you know, this is the woman I want to portray, because she is a rare, iconic figure, especially an Asian woman. We don't have that many. I mean, in our contemporary times, you know, I said, go out there, find it, because if not, you're out of a job, and so am I. No, it was just that, you know, suddenly how something hits you, and it just gets you in a place where there is just no turning back, and that you're already committed and in love. And when that happened, it was very clear. So I was very fortunate. There were a few people who were thinking and working on it, and the one that was closest who had a draft and sent it to me right away was Rebecca Frame and Andy Harris. And when I got it, I was like, there is the story, the potential. It wasn't just, yes, we know the politics. We know what Daw Aung San Suu Kyi represents, especially to Burma and to the people who have been oppressed. It's about a fight for democracy, the non-violent way. Yes, Luc Besson and I have been involved with mega action movies where we've demonstrated that skill and strength can come from the physical side. But I think as an actor or a director or as a filmmaker, you always try to challenge yourself to do something that's completely different. And I think that's good for my audience, that when they walk in, they will be transported to another world. They'll be taken on, whether it's a cultural ride, to an exotic location, to a character that they've never seen before, understood. And this time, I guess where it's really important is a woman that we should know, that we should be inspired by. It's not a lecture about politics, no way, you know, because we're not cut out to do something like this. But it's a human drama, and we all love great stories, right? Think of some of our classics. Yeah. It's always the most grand but sometimes sad, tragic love stories that will capture our emotions and our hearts. And so when I saw the story, it was like, this is my baby, and I am going to do whatever I can to make it come true.
Now, in the same way that there was some discussion with memoirs and this, here, you know, these are characters that, I guess, obviously first Japanese, then Burmese, is that the right term? I know that in this country, people get very sensitive when somebody plays somebody who's not of the same ethnicity or nationality. Have you felt from others or from yourself any sense of reservation about playing somebody who is another sort of Asian nationality? Is there any sensitivity about that, or is that something that just, thank God, somebody's playing it?
I think nowadays we've come to the point where we realize as actors we don't put the nationality of our passport on it is whoever can do the best job. I think that's the most important part. So, you know, we look very similar to each other. It's just the nuances. So as an actor, as you respect to, you know, that culture, you adapt and you learn and you study. It was like when I did Memoirs of a Geisha, I guess the biggest compliment I felt, you know, was when I was in Japan, and the women would come up to me and say, you know, you did a very good job as a Japanese woman. And I think that's our job.
Sure.
You know, that is what we are supposed to do. And you know, if I can only find jobs that is under my passport, I will be out of a job.
That's funny.
I think, unfortunately, you know, our film business in Malaysia is a fledgling. We're trying very, very hard, you know, to make it bigger, but it's not easy, you know, and we're trying. So why should we limit our actors or, you know, our filmmakers? It's like, it shouldn't be. It would be fantastic if someone from that culture can make their own movies, but sometimes you just need someone who has a different take,
well, and
a different perspective.
It's not like there are that many stories about Asian people of any descent that are made in Hollywood.
Correct.
Which is,
you know, so we have to do it in that way.
And is that frustrating? You know, how do you change that? Is there a way to
There is no quick way.
No.
I mean, if there was a way, I think
You'd
it
have
would
done
have
it.
been done. I think we all continuously try.
Yeah.
I think it's not just the Asian community. It started with the African American community, with the Hispanics, you know. And I think the most important thing is to get your own box office, your own people wanting to see your films. You know, if not, then it's all about the audience. It's not making the movie for our own gratification. We are there because we would like you to enjoy the experience, or hopefully you would get something out of it, like, you know, we have gotten, for example, in this scenario. So
one of the cool things I read as I'm winding down, just one of the cool things was that you actually went there and got to spend some time with the person that you were playing. And I wonder if you can describe what that was like and what you took away from that meeting. And then also just clarify, because I've read, I don't, you know, not everything is accurate, but that you went back for another visit and were less welcomed. So if you can explain what happened.
Josu was released from, she had come to the end of her term at the end of November last year. And at that time, we were filming in Thailand. Actually, you know, sometimes you don't plan it and things happen. Because when we were prepping for the film, wanting to start this journey, Josu was very much under house arrest. There was no communication. The last time her son Kim had seen her was 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. And since then, she had been completely isolated, cut off, no letters, nothing. And the only time we heard about her again was when that American swam into her compound, and her sentence got extended for another 18 months. Yeah, exactly. Where is the logic in that? So, when that happened, you know, Kim was in Thailand with us because he was trying to get to Burma to see his mom, and it was not easy to get the visa. So finally he did, and finally we were all together when we saw Dosu appear on the gates, you know, to wave to the crowd and everyone. And I think the priceless expression on Luke's face, he was in shock, because earlier that morning I had just done that scene, you know, waving to my people. And so he's going, who stole my footage? We're like, that's the real Dosu. And then, you know, it was surreal. There was Kim, there was my Kim, and David, you know, Michael Harrison. There was the real Dosu. I spent, close to 4 years, and more intensely the last 2 years, watching her, listening to her, you know, scouring for any more information, if there was more footage that I had not seen, or, you know, places, archives that we had not accessed, things like that, continuously to learn more about this extraordinary woman. Because, you know, I felt a great sense of responsibility, and also because I respected and loved her as my hero so much, I wanted to make sure that, you know, whatever I did was done properly. I don't want to make her a saint. I'm not trying to, you know, say, oh, she's like this, the Miss Prim and Proper, and, you know, doing all the right things, because we wanted to show the very human side of her. And I had no contact with her. So you have to, a lot of the times, draw on your own instinct. Just look and try and find those moments that you think that you are seeing, you know, that she didn't, you know, unconsciously is showing. I mean, the great thing, Dosu is very candid. She says what she thinks and what she believes in. So that's the good part. The difficult part was the quiet moment, the private moments. You know, with the family, what was the relation? What was the physical, or, you know, relationship with the loving husband and with the sons? You know, how was that when she was interacting with, you know, when doors were closed? So, and it's very strange. Suddenly, I had the opportunity, and of course, I grabbed the opportunity because everybody's visas were rejected. I was the only one that could go. And of course, Luke said, no, you don't go this weekend, next week, because this week we have some big scenes to do. Next week, if you get detained, we can do back in Paris. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to be detained. But I must say there were some of my friends who were a little more sort of wary, fearful, and said, why don't you not go, you know? And I said, no, you know, I am going to, why should I fear it? Because I have only goodwill, good intentions. I have a, you know, clear conscience, and I want to meet my hero. So I went. I was very nervous because, I was thinking, now, how should I behave? I better, don't get, crazy. And as I was driving through the driveway, it was really surreal because, we had built the house exactly to spec. With the mildew coming down the side of the walls, the gates, the rust. And as I was driving in there, I thought Luke was going to come around the corner. David was going to say, hello, darling. Yeah. And then her NLD members came out, and they were exactly like my NLD members because they were dressed exactly the same way. So, we go in and they are warm and very friendly people, and they're all saying, oh, we've been so looking forward to meet you. We've seen your movies. They are great movie buffs. And Dosu is just finishing a phone call, but, please come up to her place. So I'm walking in and I'm like, you don't have to show me around. I know this place. It was like, why did you change my curtains? They're not supposed to be that color. So I go up to the place. I'm in the room, and this is her room where her friends are, her companions for the last 20 years, where she's been under house arrest, because it's all her books everywhere, wall to wall, the paintings that she has done herself, the photos of her family. Because some people have always said, why is it Dosu never show, where's her family? Doesn't she care about them? Why don't you see the pictures on, when you go to her house? But for her, her family is family, and they should be kept privately. So only in her floor, her own private floor, you will see all the photographs. So then, I'm looking around thinking, oh, I haven't seen this. This is so gorgeous. I wish I'd seen this before. And suddenly I turned around, and there she was. And all she did was this.
That's great.
And then she gave me the biggest hug, and I'm thinking, wow, she is so slender. But you felt great peace. There was nothing fragile that she was going to break into two. And she very quickly, just make you feel completely at ease. Like, sit down, I'm so sorry about the mess. Kim is here, he leaves his things around, and, and everybody has been coming and going, and someone has given me a cat, and Kim has given me a dog. So immediately you feel like you're at home. And you don't have to mind your, dot your I's and cross your T's and be very particular. And I guess the nice thing was I wasn't really there to interview her or to ask her, very difficult questions. I was just there because here is a woman that I'm admiring and, have learned so much in my short journey that I've traveled with her, that she's been so inspiring, and you just wanted to know this is real,
And will she ever be able to see the film?
We did ask her at one stage. When I was there, we never spoke about the film because she knew we were doing it. Because the very first night after her house release, we were sitting around like this, and he gets a call and he says, yeah, it's late. I'm here with Michelle. Yeah, the woman who's playing you. Yeah, the one in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So she knows, yes, she's informed. But, she always says, we are filmmakers, we are artists, we are at liberty to express the stories and tell the stories in our own way. I hope it's also because she trusts us and, she feels that we need that freedom to be able to tell the stories how we think is fit. But I think she can be reassured that we have done it as a labor of love, and with commitment and great respect to her and to her cause and to the people.
That was great. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.